with trends. 1. The village of Stokeford, 1930 versus 2010. The two maps illustrate the principal changes that took place in the village of Stokeford between the years 1930 and 2010. Overall, it is clear that the village underwent a significant transformation from a small, agricultural settlement into a much larger, primarily residential area over the 80-year period. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1930, the area was dominated by a large expanse of farmland in the northeast, with a river flowing from north to south. A single main road crossed the river via a bridge. By 2010, however, all of the farmland had been cleared to make way for new housing. While the original main road and bridge remained, they were supplemented by a network of new residential streets. Another key change was the development of buildings and facilities. The small row of shops and the post office on the western side of the road were unchanged, but the large house and its surrounding gardens to the east were demolished. In its place, a retirement home was constructed. Furthermore, the primary school south of the shops was significantly extended to more than double its original size. 2. The town of Icenport, present versus future. The two maps illustrate the current layout of Icenport Town Center and a proposed plan for its future development. Overall, it is clear that the town center is set to undergo a major redevelopment, with a focus on increasing pedestrian access, adding new facilities, and altering the road layout. Looking at the map in more detail, the current layout features a main road running from north to south through the middle of the town, lined with shops on both sides. According to the future plan, however, this main road will be converted into a pedestrian-only walkway. The row of shops on the western side will remain, but the road in front of them will be removed. Another key change involves the introduction of new infrastructure. The shops on the eastern side of the current road are set to be demolished. In their place, a new bus station, a shopping center, and a new car park will be constructed. Furthermore, a new dual carriageway is planned to be built to the east of the town center, providing a bypass for through traffic. 3. Grange Park, 1920 versus today. The two maps illustrate the changes that have occurred at Grange Park between 1920 and the present day. Overall, it is clear that the park has been significantly redeveloped to offer a wider range of recreational facilities, resulting in a more structured and commercial layout. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1920, the park's entrance was on the northern side, flanked by two rose gardens. To the south of the entrance was a large fountain. Today, however, the main entrance has been relocated to the south, and a large car park has been built next to it. The fountain has been removed completely. Another key change is the addition of new amenities. The rose garden on the western side has been replaced by an amphitheater for concerts, while the eastern rose garden has made way for a new water feature and a children's play area. Furthermore, a new cafe has been constructed in the northeastern corner, in the place of the original glass house. 4. The village of Chorleywood, 1868 versus 1994. The two maps illustrate the development of the village of Chorleywood over a period of 126 years. Overall, it is clear that the village experienced substantial growth from a small settlement into a much larger town, primarily driven by the development of transport infrastructure. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1868, Chorleywood was a small village concentrated around two main roads. A few key buildings, such as the village hall and a church, were present. By 1994, however, the village had expanded significantly in all directions. A major railway line was constructed through the heart of the area in 1909, with a station built in the center. Another key change was the massive increase in residential housing. The areas that were previously open fields and woodland in 1868 were covered with numerous housing estates by 1994. Furthermore, a motorway was built to the south of the town, and the original road network was expanded with many new streets to accommodate the much larger population. 5. An island before and after tourism. The two maps illustrate how a small, uninhabited island was developed for tourism. Overall, it is clear that the island was completely transformed from a natural, untouched environment into a fully featured tourist resort, with the addition of accommodation, transport, and recreational facilities. Looking at the map in more detail, before the development, the island was entirely natural, with only some trees and a beach on its western coast. There were no man-made structures. Following the development, however, the island became highly structured. A pier was built on the southern coast to allow boats to dock. Another key change was the construction of numerous buildings. 2 large accommodation blocks were erected in the center and west of the island, separated by a central reception building and a restaurant. Furthermore, a footpath was created connecting the pier to the main buildings, and a separate footpath leads to the western beach, where swimming is now permitted. 6. A university campus, 2010 versus present. The 2 maps illustrate the changes that have been made to the campus of a university since 2010. Overall, it is clear that the campus has undergone significant expansion and modernization, with the construction of new buildings and improved transport links. Looking at the map in more detail, in 2010, the campus had a main road running through it, with a car park located in the southeast corner. A large arts building and a science block were situated on either side of this road. In the present day, however, the central road has been replaced by a pedestrian walkway, and the car park has been relocated underground, beneath a new bus station. Another key change involves the addition of new faculty buildings. The original science block has been demolished, and in its place, a much larger building housing the science, medicine, and law faculties has been constructed. Furthermore, a new road has been built around the perimeter of the campus, and new student accommodation has been added in the northeast corner. 7. A coastal village, 1995 versus present. The 2 maps illustrate the development of a coastal village called Pentawan between 1995 and today. Overall, it is clear that the village has experienced significant changes, shifting from a traditional fishing village with a small residential population to a larger holiday resort with more housing and tourist amenities. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1995, the area featured a small harbor and a fish market, with a row of fishermen's cottages nearby. The land to the east was predominantly undeveloped grassland. Today, however, the fish market has been demolished and replaced by a block of apartments. The harbor remains, but it is now used for private yachts. Another key change is the development of the eastern area. The grassland has been completely developed into a large holiday complex, featuring numerous holiday cottages and a swimming pool. Furthermore, the original road has been extended, and a new car park has been built next to the apartments to serve the increased number of residents and visitors. 8. An airport, now versus future plan. The 2 maps illustrate the current layout of an airport and a plan for its redevelopment in the coming year. Overall, it is clear that the airport is set to undergo a major expansion to increase its capacity and improve the passenger experience, with the addition of new gates and facilities. Looking at the map in more detail, the current airport has a single terminal for both departures and arrivals, with a check-in area on the left and a security checkpoint on the right. According to the plan, however, the airport will have separate terminals for departures and arrivals. The existing building will be converted solely for departures. Another key change is the addition of a new terminal and more gates. A new building will be constructed on the right side of the airport to handle all arrivals. Furthermore, the number of gates will be increased from 8 to 18, connected by a new sky train system. In place of the current small cafe, a large shopping area and several new restaurants will be added to the departures lounge. 9. A town center, 1950 versus 2000. The 2 maps illustrate the changes in the town center of Teignmouth between 1950 and 2000. Overall, it is clear that the town center was significantly modernized and commercialized over the 50-year period, with a reduction in residential properties and an increase in services. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1950, the town center was primarily residential, with houses occupying the northeastern and southeastern quadrants. A post office and a town hall were located in the center. By 2000, however, all the houses in the northeast had been demolished and replaced by a large supermarket and a car park. Another key change was the development of the southern area. The houses in the southeast were removed, and in their place, a new library was constructed. The original town hall remained, but the post office was relocated to a new building next to the library. Furthermore, The main road was converted into a pedestrian-only street to improve the shopping environment. 10. A factory site, 2003 versus 2009. The two maps illustrate the redevelopment of an industrial site between 2003 and 2009. Overall, it is clear that the site was completely transformed from a functioning factory complex into a modern residential and commercial area. Looking at the map in more detail, in 2003, the site was dominated by a large central factory building, with two smaller storage warehouses to the north and south. A reception building and a car park were located near the entrance in the west. By 2009, however, all of these industrial buildings had been completely demolished. Another key change was the construction of new facilities. In place of the old factory, a 60-unit apartment block was erected. The former reception and car park area was redeveloped into a commercial zone with several office buildings. Furthermore, the southern warehouse was replaced by a new 5-story hotel, and a new road was built to provide access to all the new buildings. 21. A university sports center, now versus future plan. The two plans show the current layout of a university sports center and a proposal for its future development. Overall, it is clear that the center is planned to be significantly expanded and modernized, with the addition of new indoor and outdoor facilities and a change in the layout of existing areas. Looking at the map in more detail, the current facility consists of a central building with a reception area, a gym, and a single indoor pool. Outside, there is a large car park to the west. According to the future plan, however, the gym will be extended, and a second swimming pool will be added next to the existing one. Another key change is the development of the outdoor areas. The car park will be relocated to the south of the site to make way for new outdoor courts. In its place, 2 new tennis courts and a basketball court will be constructed. Furthermore, a new cafe and an outdoor seating area are planned to be added to the eastern side of the main building. 22. The town of Meadowside, 1962 versus today. The two maps illustrate the development of the town of Meadowside from 1962 to the present day. Overall, it is clear that the town has grown from a small, relatively isolated village into a larger, more connected suburban town with significantly more housing and infrastructure. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1962, Meadowside was a small village with a single road leading to it from the west. A railway line ran to the north of the village, but there was no station. Today, however, a new road has been built connecting the town to a new motorway in the east, and a train station has been constructed on the original railway line. Another key change was the expansion of facilities and housing. The original small school and hotel have been significantly enlarged. The area of woodland to the southeast of the village has been cleared, and in its place, a large business park has been developed. Furthermore, a new housing estate has been built on the land that was previously open fields north of the railway line. 23. A museum and its surroundings, 1990 versus 2010. The two maps show a museum and its surrounding area in 1990 and 2010. Overall, it is clear that the area was redeveloped to become more visitor-friendly, with the addition of new museum facilities and a significant change to the surrounding landscape and road access. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1990, the museum was surrounded by a large garden area, and a main road ran directly in front of its entrance. A car park was located to the west of the museum. By 2010, however, the main road had been rerouted to the south, and the original road was converted into a pedestrian-only walkway. Another key change involves the expansion of the museum itself. The garden area to the east of the museum was removed, and in its place, a new wing containing a shop and a cafe was added. Furthermore, the original car park was demolished and replaced by a large fountain and a new seating area, with a new multi-story car park being built further to the west. 24. The village of Kelsbay, 1780 versus 2000. The two maps illustrate the growth of the village of Kelsbay between 1780 and 2000. Overall, it is clear that the village underwent a dramatic transformation from a small, rural community into a significantly larger town, with major changes to its land use and infrastructure over the 220-year period. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1780, Kelsbay was a small village with only 100 homes. surrounded by extensive woodland to the north and open fields to the south. A river flowed through the area, crossed by a small bridge. By 2000, however, the number of homes had increased 20-fold to 2,000. Another key change was the development of the landscape and infrastructure. The woodland was completely cleared, and the fields were replaced by new housing estates and a large sports field. A dam was built on the river, creating a large lake. Furthermore, the original bridge was replaced by a new road bridge, and a new railway line was constructed, running parallel to the river. 25. A waterfront district, 2000 versus today. The two maps show a waterfront area in the year 2000 and in the present day. Overall, it is clear that the district has been completely regenerated from a functional port and industrial area into a modern residential and leisure destination. Looking at the map in more detail, in 2000, the area was dominated by a large port with cranes and several warehouses. A fish market was located on the pier, and a hotel stood in the northeast corner. Today, however, the port is no longer a commercial one. The cranes and warehouses have all been removed. Another key change is the introduction of new residential and recreational facilities. The old fish market has been replaced by several seafood restaurants. In place of the warehouses, new apartment blocks and a cinema have been constructed. Furthermore, a new pedestrian walkway has been built along the entire waterfront, and a new children's playground has been added to the west of the pier. 26. A student accommodation building, 2010 versus present. The two plans show the layout of a student accommodation building in 2010 and today. Overall, it is clear that the building has been reconfigured to accommodate more students and provide more communal living space, at the expense of private garden areas. Looking at the plan in more detail, in 2010, the building contained 3 large, single-student bedrooms. A large kitchen was located in the southeast, and a bathroom was in the northeast. A hallway connected all the rooms. In the present day, however, the layout has been significantly altered to create 5 smaller bedrooms. Another key change is the repurposing of space. The original large kitchen has been made smaller and converted into a bedroom. A new, smaller kitchen has been built in place of the original bathroom. Furthermore, a new shower room has been added next to the kitchen, and a new communal living room has been created in the center of the building. The 2 large gardens at the top and bottom of the plan have been removed to allow for these extensions. 27. The town of Darwin, 2009 versus 2014. The two maps illustrate the development of the town of Darwin between 2009 and 2014. Overall, it is clear that the town experienced rapid development over the 5-year period, with the addition of new industrial and residential areas and significant changes to its infrastructure. Looking at the map in more detail, in 2009, the town was located to the west of a main railway line, with a large industrial area to the north. The area to the south of the town was largely undeveloped. By 2014, however, a second industrial area has been constructed to the east of the railway line. Another key change was the development of housing and facilities. A new residential area has been built in the south, complete with its own lake and swimming pool. Furthermore, the town's port facilities have been expanded, and a new university has been constructed in the northeast, connected to the town by a new road. 28. A health center, 2005 versus 2010. The two plans show the layout of a health center in 2005 and its redevelopment by 2010. Overall, it is clear that the health center was significantly enlarged and reorganized to increase its capacity and improve its services. Looking at the plan in more detail, in 2005, the health center was a relatively small building with a main entrance leading to a reception area. There was 1 doctor's room and a small office. The car park to the east had space for 12 cars. By 2010, however, the building has been extended to the east. Another key change is the addition of new rooms. The original office has been converted into a second doctor's room, and a new, larger office has been added in the extension. Furthermore, a new physiotherapy room has been constructed, and the entrance has been moved to the south side of the building, leading into a much larger waiting room. The car park was also expanded to accommodate 30 cars. 29. A city center, 1966 versus 2016. The two maps illustrate the transformation of a city center over a 50-year period. Overall, it is clear that the city center was completely redeveloped, shifting from a mixed-use area with housing and small shops to a modern commercial and entertainment hub. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1966, the area featured a market square, a town hall, and a cinema in the northern half. The southern half was occupied by residential houses and a school. By 2016, however, the market square and town hall have been demolished. Another key change was the construction of new large-scale buildings. In place of the old market and town hall, a large shopping center and a multi-story car park have been built. The original cinema remains but has been converted into a multi-screen cinema. Furthermore, all the houses and the school in the south have been replaced by a new bus station and a large office block. 30. A park's redevelopment plan. The two maps show the current layout of a park and a plan for its future redevelopment. Overall, it is clear that the park is set to be transformed to offer more diverse recreational activities, with the addition of several new facilities and a rearrangement of the existing layout. Looking at the map in more detail, the current park has two entrances, one north and one south, with a path connecting them. There are 2 areas of woodland in the corners and a central pond. According to the future plan, however, the pond will be removed. Another key change involves adding new amenities. In place of the pond, a new large sports pitch will be created. A new children's playground is planned for the southeast corner, and a new cafe will be built next to the northern entrance. Furthermore, the area of woodland in the northeast will be cleared to make way for a new indoor sports hall. 31. A coastal area, 1950 versus 2000. The two maps illustrate the changes that occurred in a coastal area between 1950 and 2000. Overall, it is clear that the area was significantly developed for residential and tourism purposes, with a corresponding reduction in agricultural and natural land. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1950, the area was predominantly rural. A large area of farmland was situated between a small fishing village and the main road. A forest was located to the east. By 2000, however, the farmland has been completely replaced by a new golf course and tennis courts. Another key change was the expansion of accommodation. The original fishing village remains, but a large new hotel has been constructed on the coastline. Furthermore, a new road has been built from the main road to this hotel, and a car park has been added. The forest area has also been cleared and redeveloped into a caravan park. 32. A university department, now versus future. The two plans show the current layout of a university department and a proposal for its redesign. Overall, it is clear that the department is planned to be reorganized to create a more collaborative and modern learning environment, with fewer individual offices and more open-plan spaces. Looking at the map in more detail, the current layout consists of a long corridor with 5 separate offices for professors on one side and a large lecture hall on the other. A small reception area is located at the entrance. According to the future plan, however, the 5 individual offices will be demolished. Another key change is the creation of new functional zones. In their place, a new open-plan office for all staff will be created, along with 2 new seminar rooms and a student common room. Furthermore, the large lecture hall will be divided into 2 smaller lecture rooms, and the reception area will be enlarged. 33. The town of Medway, 1990 versus 2010. The two maps illustrate the development of the town of Medway over a 20-year period. Overall, it is clear that the town expanded significantly, with major developments in housing, transport, and commercial facilities. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1990, Medway was a relatively small town situated to the south of a river. A large area of farmland was located to the north of the river. By 2010, however, a new bridge has been built, and the farmland has been developed into a new residential suburb. Another key change was the improvement of infrastructure. A new railway line has been constructed, running east-west through the new suburb, with a new station built. Furthermore, on the south side of the river, a new business park has been built to the east of the original town, and a new supermarket has been added to the west. 34. A public library 10 years ago versus now. The two plans show the layout of a public library 10 years ago and in the present day. Overall, it is clear that the library has been significantly updated to reflect modern needs, with a major shift from physical books to digital resources and community spaces. Looking at the map in more detail, 10 years ago, the library was dominated by bookshelves, which occupied the entire central and eastern sections. A small reference section and a help desk were near the entrance. In the present day, however, the central bookshelves have been completely removed. Another key change is the introduction of new facilities. In place of the central shelves, a new, large computer suite and a comfortable seating area with sofas have been installed. The reference section has been replaced by a cafe. Furthermore, a new children's area has been created in the southeast corner, and self-service machines have been added next to the help desk. 35. A city center redevelopment. The two maps show a city center before and after a period of redevelopment. Overall, it is clear that the city center was completely pedestrianized and modernized, with the replacement of old buildings with new commercial and leisure facilities. Looking at the map in more detail, before the redevelopment, a main road ran through the center, lined with small shops. A large, old cinema was located in the north, and a car park was in the east. After the redevelopment, however, the main road has been closed to traffic and converted into a pedestrian square with trees and seating. Another key change was the replacement of old structures. The small shops and the cinema have been demolished. In their place, a large modern shopping mall has been constructed on the western side, and a new multi-screen cinema has been built on the eastern side, on top of a new underground car park. 36. An office building floor plan before versus after refurbishment. The two plans illustrate the layout of an office floor before and after a refurbishment. Overall, it is clear that the office was transformed from a traditional, cellular layout into a modern, open-plan workspace designed to encourage collaboration. Looking at the map in more detail, before the refurbishment, the floor was divided into 6 individual, private offices and a large conference room, all connected by a central corridor. A small kitchen was located in one corner. After the refurbishment, however, all the internal walls have been removed. Another key change is the creation of new zones. The entire central area has been converted into an open-plan workspace with shared desks. In place of the old conference room, a new collaborative zone with sofas and whiteboards has been created. Furthermore, a larger, modern kitchen with a dining area has been installed, and 2 small, private quiet rooms for phone calls have been added. 37. The Village of Stoneham, 1984 versus 2004. The two maps show the Village of Stoneham in 1984 and 2004. Overall, it is clear that the village underwent significant residential development and saw the addition of new infrastructure over the 20-year period. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1984, the village was small with a single road passing through it. There was a post office, a school, and several houses, surrounded by farmland. By 2004, however, a new housing estate has been constructed on the farmland to the east of the main road. Another key change was the improvement of infrastructure. A new ring road has been built to bypass the village center, reducing traffic on the original main road. Furthermore, the original school has been extended, and a new car park has been added behind it. The post office was demolished, and a new, larger supermarket was built in its place. 38. A park and sports center, 1995 versus 2015. The two maps illustrate the changes to a park and sports center between 1995 and 2015. Overall, it is clear that the facilities were significantly upgraded and expanded, with a greater focus on providing a wider range of indoor and outdoor sports options. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1995, the site featured an outdoor swimming pool in the center, with a small changing room building to its west and a car park to its east. By 2015, however, the outdoor pool has been removed. Another key change is the construction of a large new building. In place of the outdoor pool and changing rooms, a new indoor leisure center has been built, which contains a new indoor pool, a gym, and a sports hall. Furthermore, 2 new tennis courts have been added to the south of the new building, and the car park has been significantly enlarged. 39. The town of Westgate, 1800 versus 2000. The two maps show the development of the town of Westgate over a 200-year period. Overall, it is clear that the town was completely transformed from a small agricultural town into a large, industrial city with a complex transport network. Looking at the map in more detail, in 1800, Westgate was a small town situated on a river with a town hall, a market, and a church. The surrounding area was entirely farmland. By 2000, however, the town has expanded massively. Another key change was the industrialization and development of infrastructure. The farmland has been replaced by factories and extensive residential housing. A new railway line was built through the city, along with a large station. Furthermore, the river was channeled, and a new, large bridge was constructed. The original town center buildings remain but are now surrounded by modern office blocks and commercial buildings. 40. A gallery's ground floor, 2005 versus today. The two plans show the ground floor of a gallery in 2005 and its layout today. Overall, it is clear that the gallery has been reconfigured to enhance the visitor experience, with a more logical flow and the addition of commercial facilities. Looking at the map in more detail, in 2005, the entrance led into a reception area, with a large permanent exhibition hall directly ahead. Two smaller rooms for temporary exhibitions were located on the left. Today, however, the reception area has been enlarged, and the entrance to the main exhibition hall has been moved. Another key change is the repurposing of the left wing. The two temporary exhibition rooms have been combined into one large special exhibition space. Furthermore, a new gallery shop has been added near the entrance, in place of an old cloakroom, and a new cafe with an outdoor terrace has been constructed in the southeast corner.
B. Bản đồ so sánh, không có thay đổi thời gian, 10 bài.
41. Two proposed sites for a supermarket. The two maps illustrate two potential locations, S1 and S2, for a new supermarket in the town of Garlston. Overall, it is clear that the two sites have distinct advantages regarding their proximity to different population centers and their impact on the existing landscape and transport network. Looking at the map in more detail, Site S1 is located in the town center, in an area that is currently occupied by a mix of housing and shops. This location would be highly accessible to the dense residential population of the town itself and could be reached on foot by many. In contrast, Site S2 is situated in a rural area to the north of the town, surrounded by farmland. This site would be less accessible to town residents but is positioned between Garlston and the neighboring village of Hindon. Another key difference is the required transport infrastructure. The central S1 site would likely increase traffic congestion in the already busy town center. On the other hand, the S2 site, located next to the main road connecting the two towns, would require the construction of a new roundabout and a large car park, but it would not add traffic to the town center itself. 42. Two proposed layouts for a community center. The two diagrams show two different proposed layouts, Plan A and Plan B, for a new community center. Overall, it is clear that while both plans feature the same core facilities, their arrangement and the allocation of space are significantly different, with Plan A being more open and Plan B more compartmentalized. Looking at the diagrams in more detail, in Plan A, the main entrance leads directly into a large, open-plan hall that occupies the entire central area of the building. The kitchen and storage rooms are located in the top right corner. In contrast, Plan A's entrance opens into a smaller, dedicated reception area. The large hall is positioned on the right side of the building, separate from the other rooms. Another key difference is the placement of the offices and meeting rooms. In Plan A, two offices are situated to the left of the main hall. Conversely, Plan B proposes three smaller offices and a dedicated meeting room, all located along a corridor on the left side of the building, separate from the main hall. Furthermore, the kitchen in Plan B is larger and located centrally at the back. 43. Two potential designs for a university sports center. The two plans illustrate two alternative designs for a new university sports center. Overall, it is clear that both designs incorporate the same key facilities, but they differ significantly in terms of layout, with the first plan being more centralized and the second having a more linear arrangement. Looking at the diagrams in more detail, The first design features a large central hall which is surrounded by other facilities. The main 25m swimming pool is located to the west of this hall, with a smaller leisure pool to the east. In contrast, the second design has a long central corridor. The main pool and leisure pool are both situated on the right side of this corridor. Another key difference is the location of the changing rooms and fitness suite. In the first plan, the changing rooms are positioned to the south of the central hall, and a large gym is to the north. On the other hand, the second plan places the changing rooms and a smaller fitness suite on the left side of the central corridor. Furthermore, the second design also includes a sports cafe, a feature that is absent from the first plan. 44. 2 proposed road access routes to a city hospital. The two maps show two different proposals for improving road access to a city hospital. Overall, it is clear that both proposals aim to improve traffic flow and access, but they achieve this through different means. One by adding a new roundabout and the other by constructing a new dedicated bus station. Looking at the maps in more detail, the current situation involves a main road, city road, running past the hospital with a bus stop on either side. The first proposal suggests building a new roundabout on City Road at the hospital entrance. In contrast, the second proposal keeps the main road as it is but focuses on public transport. Another key difference is the handling of buses and cars. In the first proposal, both cars and buses would use the new roundabout to access the hospital car park. Conversely, the second proposal involves constructing a new, separate bus station on the east side of the hospital ring road. This would mean buses no longer stop on the main city road. Furthermore, both plans include the addition of a second car park on the east side of the hospital. 45. 2 possible layouts for a public park. The two diagrams illustrate two different potential layouts for a new public park. Overall, it is clear that both plans provide green space and recreational areas, but Plan A offers a wider variety of formal facilities, while Plan B retains a more natural feel with fewer structures. Looking at the diagrams in more detail, Plan A features a large, formal pond in the center of the park. To the north of the pond, there are 2 tennis courts, and to the south, there is a children's playground. In contrast, Plan B has a much smaller, more natural-looking lake in the northwest corner and leaves the central area as an open grass field. Another key difference relates to the amenities. Plan A includes a cafe in the northeast corner and a formal flower garden in the southwest. On the other hand, Plan B does not have a cafe or a formal garden. Instead, it features a large area of native woodland in the eastern half of the park and a simple picnic area in the south, suggesting a focus on nature over built facilities. 46. 2 proposed floor plans for a library. The two plans show two different layouts for the ground floor of a city library.